Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? This your boy, Rob Thomas Jr., and this is the real news behind the news. The real news 3. Gotta walk this for here. Today is June 21st, 2019. And today what we want to talk about is two very, very serious issues that don't seem to be getting in the press, in the mainstream media. We want to talk about the push to go to war with Iran and how things like this leads up to the opioid crisis versus the crack epidemic. Now, again, the United States, under the Project for the New American Century, they had 9 countries, all rich countries, that they was going to invade and basically take their oil to make sure that it was always sold for the petrodollar. You got to go back and understand what World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement and all that was, and then you understand the petrodollar. But briefly, I'll explain to you. In order for the United States to enter World War II, the United States basically told the rest of the world, all their allies, well, once we do this, we got to have the world's reserve currency. So as a, as a means to getting the United States in on their side so they could defeat Hitler, the rest of the world agreed to it. Now, since then, every barrel of oil, no matter where it's at and produced on the face of the planet, has to be sold for the American dollar. Now, you have a bunch of countries such as Venezuela, Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia. All these countries did not want to sell their oil and get pimped by the United States for that petrodollar, so they declared themselves, basically free from the dollar in their central banking system. Well, every country that the United States wanted to invade so that they could take their oil or other resources, they told them, you drop your weapons, man, give up all your weapons. Hey, what's going on, Emmett? I'll give you a call shortly, man. I promise I'm gonna call you as soon as I finish this video. But basically, they tell them, you give up your weapons, man, we'll protect you and your oil. As soon as they gave up their weapons of deterrence, because you got to realize, these people are, if they are pursuing a nuclear weapon, it is to deter countries like the United States, Israel, or other countries such as their allies, Saudi Arabia, some of the biggest murderers on the planet. Oh boy, them boys in Saudi Arabia are sadistic. Guess what? They done killed over 50,000 children in Yemen, and your government sponsoring that murderous war in Yemen. 50,000 children have died just in the last 3-4 years, and you got 10 million people over there on the verge of starving. Now let's get back to Iran. Now, Iran is the last country in the Middle East the United States hasn't went over there and destroyed, and basically took over that country for their oil supply, their oil reserves. They're trying their best to get into Iran and Venezuela right now, but the Iranians are not having it. We went over to Syria, the last country we actually are on the ground fighting. We went over to Syria, and Syria handed our behind to us with the help of the Russians. Now, guess what? If we decide, if Donald Trump, I'm gonna put it like this, if Donald Trump, listening to John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, decide to go to war with Iran, if they they got their ass stomped in Syria, what you think is going to happen in Iran? Look at the Iranians shot that drone down yesterday. Did y'all know that one drone was sacrificed? United States government sacrificed that almost $700-some million airplane because it's the size and the price of a Boeing 747. So whatever a Boeing 747 costs, that's how much that drone costs that the Iranians blew up yesterday, because the United States playing games. They turned off the identification markers on the transponder on that drone and deliberately sent it into Iranian airspace. They probably knew the Iranians was not joking and was going to blow it down, but now they're going to use this, plus that false flag oil tanker thing that happened last week, and another issue. I believe they got one more false flag coming up that they're going to use. But we, as citizens, when I talk about this, we say, well, what can we do? We need to get on our phone, man, and flood your national representative, your senators and your congressmen. You need to flood them and tell them to get Mike Pompeo and John Bolton the hell away from American government because these dudes are war hawks. Lindsey Graham. Now, you Donald Trump supporters, did he tell y'all in the beginning that he was against all these illegal wars? But since he's been here, he done bombed Syria. Remember, he sent them airstrikes about a year and a half ago to Syria. Now he's trying to take you to war with Iran, based upon lies that they have been used to telling us, and nobody's challenging them on these lies. You see what I'm saying? You go back to 9/11, which was a big false flag. The Gulf of Tonkin, which they used to go into Vietnam. Actually, again, Theodore Roosevelt knew what he was doing and basically antagonized the Japanese to attack Pearl Harbor so that he could use that false flag to get you all in motion, to get American citizens all emotional. Hold on. Y'all forgive me about that. But they use these false flags to get you emotional so you don't have no problem with throwing your kids on the fires of war. Now we're trying to falsely attack Iran because they're no longer on the dollar system. They're heavily invested with Russia and China. So guess what? If we do go to war with them, we got to fight Russia and China. And the Pentagon over this week came out and told Trump and came out and told Bolton, man, y'all need to slow down, pump your brakes. We cannot fight a war with Iran. Because again, if you fight Iran, you gotta fight Russia and China. Now let me fast forward and show you how these things go. Now using that false flag 9/11, they said that 17 of the 19 hijackers was from Saudi Arabia. But they went and commenced to attack Afghanistan. Why was that? They attacked Afghanistan because the Russians, they wanted a pipeline to go through there, and they didn't want the Russians to put a pipeline through there for the oil. But most importantly, it was about that poppy seed, which leads us to our second conversation. The poppy seed, opioids, opium, Oxycontin, Loratab, heroin, all this comes from your opium plant, the poppy seed. This is why they went into Afghanistan. But notice this. Now let me give you, I'm gonna rewind. I'm gonna give y'all a brief history of crack cocaine. Now, back in the 80s, you had what was called the Iran-Contra affair, where Ronald Reagan and all his cohort, George Bush first, all of them, was basically what they was doing. They had a proxy war going on over in between Iran and Iraq. At that time, they were supporting Saddam Hussein. Who is this? Look at the, I'm gonna prove my little nephew. Josh, it won't let me get you in. I'm finna try to get you in. I'll see where you on there. Let me finish this up real quick. I'm finna come around there and holler at you. All right. Now, in the Iran-Contra affair, what happened? The United States government at that time was dealing with a war. They were still dealing with the hippie movement. Now this back in the 70s, let me go back. They was dealing with the hippie movement. They were dealing with the Black Panthers. They was dealing with all these groups who were becoming more powerful. Matter of fact, Nixon said they're reading, they're getting high, and they're talking to each other, which meant that they were enlightening themselves with the coca leaf, not the coca leaf, but with the hemp plant, the marijuana. They was getting high, man, and they was getting in tune with each other, man, and they was anti-war, they was anti-government because they was seeing what the government was doing. So they wanted a way to break these groups up. So your government sponsored research. How can we make cocaine more affordable to these black people, to these hippies? So now what they were doing, they were taking weapons, they were running them down to Nicaragua, selling them for cocaine, bringing the cocaine back to America, trying to make it cheaper to put into the black neighborhood. Once they found a way, because some brilliant scientists figured out all you gotta do is heat this sulfur up. Once you heat this sulfur up and it boom, comes to a gel, you change the whole molecular structure. Now you throw a little baking soda on it to make it bond back together, and voila, you have crack cocaine. Now, they deliberately put crack cocaine in our neighborhood, pushed gangster rap music on us, and showed us an image of a hustler. And at that point, Hillary Clinton, because you got to realize all the money and dope that was coming in from the Iran-Contra affair was going straight to Bill and Hillary Clinton up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Yes, sir. Hillary Clinton was one of the biggest drug dealers on the planet. So now, they put this crack cocaine in our neighborhoods, and guess what? They didn't have money for rehabilitation centers. Only way we can rehabilitate these super predators, as Hillary Clinton called them, is we got to build more prisons. So they start building more and more prisons, and under that 1992 crime reform bill, they start sending Negroes to prison in record numbers here in America behind the crack cocaine epidemic that they themselves created to destabilize our communities, keep us from unifying. So we put them in prison for selling the crack, and we get them hooked on crack. We got them. Now, fast forward. Let's go to Afghanistan. They got all this fucking opium that the pharmaceutical companies basically push for that war to go over there so that they can get control of the opium. Soon as they got control of the poppy seed, opioid addiction around the world multiplied literally within a year and a half, 1,000%. So now you got a whole bunch of people not only hooked on heroin, but now they're hooked on Oxycontin. Man got his facts on. Hey, thank you, Jacob. But now you got them hooked on Oxycontin. Now remember, when it was crack cocaine in our neighborhood, we ain't got no money for no goddamn rehab. Put them niggas in a pen. Let them learn a lesson. But now that it's the opioid addiction, tell me you cannot get on TV and watch some of these commercials and all they saying, if you or your loved one are hooked on opioids, we have rehabilitation centers for you that you can come. Notice you got to be able to pay for it. You got to have insurance and all that. So that and this automatically disqualifies a lot of black and poor whites and Hispanics and other people who don't have insurance. So again, what happened when it was crack cocaine in our neighborhoods? It was Negroes be damned. Go to jail, do your time. Now that little Muffy and little Jonathan, you know, they are hooked on these Oxycontins. They stealing their mamas and daddies' prescription medications. It's no coincidence that the pharmaceutical companies right now are losing lawsuit after lawsuit because it's been proven that they deceptively push their product on the American public using doctors. Now, you have an opioid crisis that's just as worse as the crack cocaine crisis, but they don't portray it in the same light. In this instance, is we gotta have compassion. We can't just legislate or throw people in jail because these opioids, well, hell, when it was crack, y'all didn't give a damn how many niggas. I seen 18 Negroes go to prison, get at least 10, 15 years in one day. I was in court, you know what I'm saying, behind some opioids, you know what I'm saying, behind some crack, stuff like that. But yet and still, when it was crack cocaine infesting our neighborhoods and sending our brothers and sisters to prison. Man, I know people right now that's still doing time, dog, from the 90s, man. When it was crack, prison was the treatment center. Exactly, Marlon. Man, tell me I'm lying, Marlon. We know people right now from the 90s still doing time on crack cocaine, and right now with the opioids, if you or little Buffy has a drug problem, depending on opioids and even alcohol, call this number and we will get you all the help you need. Man, it's crazy how you live in a false reality, a false paradigm given to you by those people on the television that call themselves news and a lot of independent news sources. But hey, that's why you got the real news behind the news. We finna try to shatter all that bullshit they trying to teach us. Or indoctrinate us with, rather. And I'm trying to get you all, if nothing else, if you don't believe what I say, it's because it affect more whites is why they care. Yeah, it backfired on them. They thought that once they get the opium, see, now you gotta realize the CIA is really nothing but cocaine international associates. That's all the CIA do. This is how they fund their illegal wars, by selling drugs. Vietnam wasn't about no goddamn communism. It was about getting opium into America. What the boy named Lucas? He showed us that. But we already knew it if you do your research. These guys are the biggest drug dealers on the fucking planet, man. Your government, the pharmaceutical company. Now, it backfired on them because they was looking to get the street people out the way, the trash, the niggas and the poor whites. They was looking to flood that, but they didn't realize that with that Oxycontin and that Loratab, all these Percocet, all these opioid-based drugs, hold on, Marlon say, crack was cheap, crack was whack. But I made a whole lot of money out selling crack. So did the government. Marlon, for every dollar you made, they probably made $1 billion. Hey, did y'all see what in Philadelphia they found that $1 billion worth of cocaine the other day? Oh my God. Man, they had 322,000 pounds of cocaine they found on the ship. And guess who bringing that shit in? Who's allowing it to come in? Your government. Because think about this, our government can put a motherfucking embargo on another country overseas. That means they sit warships off the coast of that country and they can stop food, medicine, water, whatever they want to stop from coming into that country that they got that embargo on. They can, you know what I'm saying, put an embargo on. But you mean to tell me we can't put an embargo on our borders and stop all these goddamn drugs? The Adderall got little Timmy killing folk. Adderall. Now I'm gonna tell you what folk got folk killing folk around here. One thing that all your mass shooters got in common, bruh, is one thing, and a lot of people don't know this. It might be, most people might say a gun. No. The one thing that the majority of your mass shooters over the last 20 years in America got in common is they on antidepressants. Don't they tell you in the motherfucking side effects that this shit here can cause you to be violent or suicidal, especially when you detoxing off of them? So this is, I mean, man, I can go deep, MK Ultra, and tell you how they use these drugs, antidepressants, to actually alter people's thinking, mind control. Methamphetamine. Methamphetamine was created by Hitler. Jacob Hitler wanted a way to keep his troops on the battlefield, man, without getting tired. So he created methamphetamine. But we talking about crack cocaine. Your government, well, I ain't gonna say your government because you probably don't give a fuck about them just like I don't. But the United States government sponsored research to make cocaine more affordable so that they could flood the black community. Notice Huey P. Newton, founder of the Black Panthers, died because he was trying to rob somebody behind some crack. You know what I'm saying? Look at Freeway Ricky Ross. This dude, he'll tell you, man, he went from making $250, maybe $400 a week selling stolen cars, man, to making $1 million a week, man, because they gave him all the dope. You gotta look at Freeway Ricky Ross. I forgot the reporter who broke the story. They killed him. But anyway, man, I'm rambling on. Y'all get the point. As long as it's in our hood, to them, it's all good. Fuck it, kill as many of them as we can. You know what I'm saying? But now that it's affecting them, it's a problem that needs compassion. You know, and I'm gonna tell y'all something. Black people, do not expect reparation. I mean, it would be nice and lovely to have, but it ain't gonna happen. Think about it. Look at the reparation that the Indians got. True, some of them are smart enough to unite politically. They got casinos, but you go to the Indian reservation, that's some of the poorest shit on the planet, man. I'm talking about, you talking about third world living conditions on some of these Indian reservations, man. You know these folks don't keep their promises. You think they finna give us some money? They might though, you know, because we as Negroes, we love to buy shiny shit. So they know if we get these niggas $5,000 a piece, guess what? Within 72 hours, we'll have almost 80% of it back because they gonna go buy rims, they gonna go buy a big screen TV, they gonna go buy Jordans, they gonna go buy the dumbest shit on the planet, and we'll get it all back. Plus, we'll tax those Negroes. So yeah, if they give us reparation, we need to have financial seminars on how to spend it, you know, collectively. But anyway, again, that's what we talking about. Donald Trump finna take out a war listening to Mike Pompeo and John Bolton. Y'all need to try to flood, I mean literally, make the phone system go down by calling your congressmen and senators and tell them to pump the brakes and tell them to push to get John Bolton and Mike Pompeo fired, because as long as they in office, they control Donald Trump. And you Trump fans should feel like some suckers right now, man. You Trump supporters should feel like suckers, because he lied to you. He said that he wasn't about these wars of aggression, but he's finna start a whole new war. And this war is gonna be blatantly obvious that they can't win, because if Syria kicked their ass, how do you think they gonna stand a chance against Iran, the Russians, and the Chinese? Hey, y'all give me a minute, man. Let me go. I gotta give my son something for breakfast, or for lunch now. Y'all give me a minute.